You are Locked On Tigers POSTCAST, part of Locked On Sports Detroit on the Locked On Podcast Network. Your team every day.
And away we go. Man, baseball is a lot of fun lately. 4 in a row for the Tigers. Welcome to a live Locked On Tigers postcast. I am your host, Jake Riepma. A twin bill today, and that means 2 shows for you. It's a good day to be a Tigers fan. Detroit dominates Pittsburgh Pirates 8-0, the final in this one. And as I mentioned, a doubleheader after the rain out yesterday. So buckle up, dial it in, and we've got just enough time to get into a live postcast before game number 2 begins. And as I mentioned, I am your host, Jake Riepma, formerly with 97.1 The Ticket, now with Locked On Sports Detroit, and fired up to be the host of the Locked On Tigers postcast. And thanks for making us, as always, your first listen every day. This is your destination for Tigers post-game reaction, analysis, highlights, and so much more. Let's get interactive. Let's get after it. Free and available wherever you get your podcasts on YouTube, all part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every single day. Coming up on today's show, we're going to recap that 8-0 victory because Tarik Skubal is a bad man. He continues to be lights out. We'll check the odds on him winning the Cy Young, break his start down. And how about that offense? Some early offense, which was nice. You could kick the feet up, relax, watch the Tigers enjoy a kind of cruise to victory type of feeling in this one as they win. And then we will go over some of the roster moves that were made because obviously that impacts game number 2 here coming up in just a moment. But before we go any further, today's show is made possible by eBay Motors. From brakes to exhaust kits and beyond, eBay Motors has over 122 million parts to help you keep your ride or die alive with all the parts you need at the prices you want. It's easy to bring home that big win. Keep your ride or die alive at ebaymotors.com. Eligible items only. Exclusions apply. eBay guaranteed fit only available to U.S. customers. All right, let's lock it in because, like I mentioned, anytime Tarik Skubal's on the mound, it's appointment viewing. And if the offense can just get him a little bit of run support, look out. The Tigers are a tough team to beat on a Tarik Skubal start date. And that's exactly how this one played out. So I want to start with Skubal because not only was he terrific, and I also should mention, because this is how my crazy brain works, that I missed everybody the last 2 days. I mean, my goodness, we had an off day on Monday and a rain out on Tuesday. What the heck? So glad the Tigers could get back in action today, albeit just a 2-game series against the Pirates. And they're going to do them both games on the same day before they jet off for a lengthy 7-game road trip, first with Boston and then to the Lone Star State, deep in the heart of Texas in Dallas, to take on the Texas Rangers, although it's not as deep in the heart of Texas as Houston. So that said, forget I even went there. The Lone Star State, Dallas, Texas, is where the Detroit Tigers will be on Monday. But back to the action we witnessed just moments ago. That was Tarik Skubal in his finest form. Obviously, the final line is going to jump out to you. 7 innings, 3 hits, 0 earned runs, 8 strikeouts, and 1 walk. Let's just give it up. I mean, that is so fun to watch. It's fun baseball. It reminds me, and let me get crazy for a second, it reminds me of the must-see JV days in Detroit, where it is appointment viewing. When Tarik Skubal is on the mound, it's pen and paper time. It's tell whoever you're watching games with, and I remember watching games with my late father, my grandfather, and we would just enjoy the greatness of Justin Verlander, of Max Scherzer. And I feel like anytime Tarik Skubal is pitching, get out to the ballpark so you can have the chance to witness it in person, tell your friends, tell your grandkids, and you'll be able to tell whoever it is that appreciates baseball, hey, I saw one of the best pitchers throw live in Tarik Skubal. But that's me getting a little bit romantic. My apologies. Jason Walter checking in on the YouTube. That's right. If you are joining us on the live stream, I know a day game can be tough for some, but hey, we've got you covered on Locked On Sports Detroit. Make sure you subscribe to the show and let your voice be heard. I try to read all of the comments as they appear and work them into the show because I love getting interactive with everybody. Jason Walter saying work can wait. Winning is fun. Hey, that's right. More people, more hardworking professionals out there need to take that same mindset, Jason Walter. Work can wait. Let's talk Tiger baseball. But not only was Tarik Skubal's final line impressive, but the efficiency and the outs that he was able to get, because even in the beginning portion of the game for Tarik Skubal, he did have some traffic on the bases. His first 5 outs were recorded via the strikeouts. But as he started to work later into the game, 3 in the first, 4 more in the 5th, 1 in the 6th. We're going to talk about the offense in just a second. But through that 5th, 6th, and 7th inning, I mean, this is just some of the most efficient numbers you've ever seen as far as quick outs. At one point, through the 5th and 6th, I made sure I wrote this down. Tarik Skubal had 6 outs, so the 5th and 6th innings, cleared them, 12 total pitches. 6 outs, 12 total pitches. That is an insane metric in terms of quick early outs, attacking hitters, and obviously the Pirates not doing themselves any favors, swinging early in counts, but that's how dominant Tarik Skubal can be. And another stat that was really interesting as far as how quickly Skubal was working and how quickly he was getting outs. 7 batters retired in 2 pitches or less. That's just incredible. Things you love to see Tarik Skubal dealing. And as I often do, since I have this bet, and my odds were pretty good, but right now Tarik Skubal, the front runner for the Cy Young, at plus 260 on FanDuel. So how about that? What'd you think of Tarik Skubal? We got a couple more people joining us on the YouTube stream. Let me know. Who do you compare it to? Is my must-see JV comparison from some of those glory years in the Motor City too much of a reach? I think we are there with Tarik Skubal, and he's putting together one of the more impressive first halves of a season that I can remember. And again, it is welcomed with open arms because that's the way this team is built. We're going to get to Scott Harris's comments on MLB Network. I'm just so upset with myself that I even just allowed that statement to come out of my mouth, because that just instantly put me in a bad mood. Scott Harris's comments were egregious yesterday. I'm going to go ahead and say that. We'll get to that at the end of the show, but it was just so deflating. It was so just incredibly disheartening, the approach and the mindset of the front office of this organization. And I don't want to rain on anyone's parade, because it's 4 in a row and a chance to go sweep a series, albeit a 2-game series and a twin bill doubleheaders all in the same day. But Tarik Skubal is on the mound. You gave him some offense early. You won this game handedly, and it was the type of game that you feel good about your roster, top to bottom, the pitching staff, the offense, the defense, everything clicking on all cylinders. And when you go out and play that type of brand of baseball, what's the result? An 8-0 win over the Pirates to get back to 500, 27-27 on the season, 14-14 at home, 13-13 on the road. So some could say the Tigers are a 500 ball club right now. Mary Jo Isaacson chiming in. Skubal's the best. Yes, and great point here. I had this on my list to talk about, but per usual, our viewers, listeners, watchers, whatever you want to refer to yourselves, the loyal Locked On Tigers postcast has an astute observation regarding the Motor City uniforms. That's right, the City Connect uniforms. The Tigers continue to wear them and continue to win. That's 4 straight wins in the City Connect uniform. So again, we're not superstitious. We are a little bit stitious though, and let's keep that going. So they are growing on me. I will say I didn't love them, but if the wearing of the Motor City Connect jerseys, whatever we're going to call them, results in that type of brand of baseball being played, I'm not going to question it. In fact, I'll be the biggest fan of the City Connect uniforms, although long live the Old English D's, in my opinion, the best logo in sports. But great point there from Mary Jo Isaacson. We appreciate everybody tuning in on Locked On Tigers postcast. Of course, you can subscribe on YouTube for free so you never miss a moment. All right, we're going to continue breaking this one down. We'll talk about the offense before we get into maybe a little bit less exciting of a topic, the front office and the roster moves. The roster moves, understandably, they had to happen, but the comments from Scott Harris yesterday was a tough day to be a Tigers fan, in my opinion. But before we go, Demetrius McNeil getting in on the comments. Said it before, I said it again. The 3-run homer from Matt Vierling became the play of the game. Save your energy for the next podcast. Oh, I've always got energy, Demetrius. Don't you worry. We are always thriving here on Locked On Tigers POSTCAST. If I can't bring the juice, then what the heck am I doing? I would be doing a disservice to every Tigers fan, to the Locked On Podcast Network as a whole, and to myself. That's something I never take granted, the opportunity to be on the air. And after a win like today, 8-0, Tarik Skubal, 7 innings scoreless, how can you not be excited? And as long as the Tigers play as well as they did in game 1, if they do that in game 2, I'll bring the exact same energy. So we'll take a quick break. Don't go anywhere. We still got time before game number 2 begins. And even if we go a little bit long and game number 2 starts, not to worry. There's a great thing called the internet. We get the live box score. We'll be just fine. All right, don't go anywhere. We talk about that Tigers offense coming up next. All right, it's one of my favorite times of the program because I bestow upon each and every one of you a little bit of wisdom that will help me and it will help you, because we all know passion, drive, and patience. That's the formula for winning championships, and it's also what keeps your ride or die alive. The Tigers showed that on the field today, and eBay Motors has everything you need to maintain your vehicle and level it up to peak performance. I'm talking superchargers, roof racks, exhaust kits, LED headlights, and so much more. So whether you're into speed, power, or style, eBay Motors has you covered. With over 122 million parts, your number one ride or die will always find exactly what you're looking for. I mean, if you can't find what you're looking for with 122 million parts for your number one ride or die, what the heck are you doing? All right, I added that part, but you get it. And with eBay's guaranteed fit, your part is guaranteed to fit your ride every time or your money back, because with eBay Motors, you're burning rubber, not cash. With all the parts you need at the prices you want, it's easy to make your car the MVP and bring home huge wins. Keep your ride or die alive at ebaymotors.com. Eligible items only. Exclusions do apply. eBay guaranteed fit only available to U.S. customers. This was the type of game that you love watching from a fan's perspective, because it eliminates, for at least the time being, some of the biggest gripes you have with this team in terms of wasting outstanding pitching and starting pitching for that matter, because it was the type of game where you have your ace on the mound in Tarik Skubal, and you feel like if you just get him a little bit of a lead, he can take you the rest of the way. And what did the offense do? Exactly that. We're talking the first 3 hitters set the tone in this one, which you love to see, because, again, it's not like it was against a scrub pitcher. I mean, yes, Jared Jones is 3-5 on the season, but he has had success after today's game. He had been a very, very good pitcher for the Pittsburgh Pirates. ERA below 4, 3.55, 70 strikeouts, 1.01 walks, hits for innings pitched. But the point being is the plate approach from the Tigers in that home half of the first inning, starting with Wenzel Perez. You can't say enough about the spark plug that he's been. And I don't want to shortchange Matt Vierling. We're going to get to him. He was the offensive MVP today. But Wenzel Perez, to come out the way he did and just smash that triple, find the gap, and with his speed, when that ball goes into the right field gap at Comerica Park, Copa, or in honor of Wojo, we'll call it Comerica's Park. But point being, I mean, that ball's just going to keep running and running into the right field gap, and Perez's speed is going to result in a triple more often than not. You put a runner on third, nobody out, here's a chance for a big inning. Matt Vierling up next, sharp single, doesn't try to do too much, goes exactly with the pitch, right center, right back through the box, and does his job to single home Perez, and the Tigers are off and running up 1-0. Who's next? Riley Green, singling to right, and great base running by Vierling to get all the way to third. And that's how big innings happen, which is a rarity with this offense, or has been a rarity with this offense at times. But it wasn't today. They did the right things. And again, with Tarik Skubal on the mound, that's all you can ask for from your offense, because it is a winning combination. Here I go, pointing out the obvious. With this offense putting together that type of production early, combined with the abilities of Tarik Skubal to go deep into games and to dominate the opposition, it's a winning formula. We don't have to overcomplicate it. So continuing on with that first inning, again, not trying to do too much. Canna, first and third, nobody out, goes with the pitch, hit it really well. One of those balls, if it's, placed in the gap, that type of thing, it's extra bases, because he certainly made great contact, but it was a sacrifice fly to right, allowing Matt Vierling to score, and then Gio Urshela safe on the fielding error. So again, the Pirates didn't do themselves any favorites, but it was one of those innings where you just extend the inning, be the next man up, keep, pass the torch, pass the baton, whatever baseball cliche you want to use. But there wasn't the, like in the fourth where you had the 4-run, or in the fifth, I'm sorry, the 4-run inning, you had the 3-run bomb. Though in the first, it was more about next man up in the lineup card, just do your job, get on base, extend the inning, and so on and so forth. And then Colt Keith might have been the benefactor of not the most ideal playing conditions when he grounded that ball to second, because I think the moisture on the infield slowed it down significantly. But at the same token, he put the ball in play, got down the line, avoided the double play, and that allowed Riley Green to score. And before you know it, it's 3-0 Tigers. So again, great offense in the first inning to jump on a good pitcher early and put your team in the driver's seat. That's what I liked about this game, is the Tigers were in control. They were the ones dictating the pace of the game, dictating the dynamics of the game, and so on and so forth. And that's what good ball clubs do, especially when they're playing a good brand of baseball like they are now, 4 wins in a row. Now, Matt Vierling, again, great RBI single in the home half of the first, didn't try to do too much. But let's jump ahead to that 5th inning where the Tigers, again, added on to it and really, all right, I'll say a 3-0 lead with Tarik Skubal on the mound feels good, but the bullpen will still have to close it out. But to take it from a 3-0 lead, Vierling homering to left field to make it 6-0, that's where you kick the feet up and you say, okay, this offense came to play today. You jumped on a good pitcher early. You got your horse going on the mound, and let's cruise to victory. One more for good measure. Gio Urshela single in Riley Green. Canada went to third on that play. And then in the bottom of the 8th, Jake Rogers, credit to him, multi-hit game for him, single to right, Javi Baez scoring. And again, it's not like the Pirates let their guard down a couple of times. You had a couple of errors. That's how Javi got on the time. And it wasn't, by any means a clean game played by the Pittsburgh Pirates. They had 3 errors. So if I'm doing this show in Pittsburgh, I'm, screaming into the microphone saying, can we have a Major League Baseball team that doesn't make 3 errors? That's Little League stuff. But in the same token, Tigers took advantage, and that's what you have to do when you're the better team like they were today. All right. Other things worth noting from the offense. I want to make sure I don't miss anything. So if you think, Rima, you're missing something, let me know. But again, Matt Vierling, huge day, 4 more RBI. Yeah, had the big day Sunday with the 3-run walk-off homer and continues to rake. We love that term. He's raking right now and continues to do damage when putting the ball in play. 2 hits for Riley Green. Always good to see that, because we've talked about his month of May slump. Hopefully he's busting out of that. Wenzel Perez, we'll always give him credit, especially with all the triples. He's now 2nd in the bigs. He might be 3rd. I need to double check that, but he's among the leaders in the bigs in triples. And obviously the time he got called up hasn't had nearly the amount of at-bats. I know Bobby Witt Jr. is one of the guys that's up there. And Benetti was talking about it on the broadcast. But I mentioned Jake Rogers, 2 more hits for him. Gio Urshela gets an RBI. He was on base a couple of times, one of them off after an error. Mark Canha with that sac fly. Just a really great effort all around from the Tigers offense. And it's just a bonus when it lines up, when this offense shows up with Tarik Skubal on the mound. So great stuff there. You absolutely love to see it. S-Dog getting in the comments. Looks like the Tigers got some run production. Nice change of pace. Yeah, I mean, the last 2 games, it's looked like an offense that will absolutely strike fear in opposing pitchers. I mean, 14 runs in that marathon slugfest game against the Blue Jays on Sunday and 8 more in game 1 in an 8-0 victory. So we'll talk about game 2 that's coming up in just a few minutes. Obviously, we've got a Major League Baseball debut for the Tigers and Paul Skeens on the mound for the Pirates. Listen, I would have loved to see a Skubal-Skeens matchup without the rain delay, but hey, we'll take it here in game 2. So we'll talk about the big Major League Baseball debut for the Tigers starter today. And of course, some of the comments that were made by Scott Harris yesterday, as well as the roster moves. But 4 straight wins for the Tigers. Don't go anywhere. We wrap up our first edition of Locked On Tigers postcast of the day in just a moment. You already know America's #1 sportsbook is FanDuel. If you're like me, that tells you all you need to know. Number 1, okay, I'm in. And FanDuel makes it easier than ever because it's winner take all time in the NBA and the NHL. The Timberwolves were able to fend off elimination and avoid the sweep against the Dallas Mavericks. Hope you had the over on Karl Anthony Towns and Anthony Edwards. They were fantastic, combined for 54 last night. But don't forget about the action on the ice as well. Stars and Oilers in the Western Conference Finals, Eastern Conference Finals. You've got the Rangers, an original 6 team, and the Florida Panthers. That series all knotted up at 2. So don't waste any more time. FanDuel's giving you a shot to bring home a big win of your own right now. New customers get $150 in bonus bets with any winning $5 bet. Let me say that again. Everybody's got $5. You put it in a winning bet and you get $150 in bonus bets for new customers. That's $150 to bet on spreads, money lines, player props, and so much more. Maybe you put a handful of change on the Tarik Skubal Cy Young future. We love the sounds of that. Plus 260 right now on FanDuel. Visit FanDuel.com/lockedon and make every playoff shot count. Yeah, that too. Let me try that again. Visit FanDuel.com/lockedon and make every playoff shot count. FanDuel, America's #1 sportsbook. Woo! All right, we cruise into the conclusion of our first edition of our Locked On Tigers postcast today because game 2 coming up in just a moment. And let's get right into the roster moves that were made by this Tigers organization. And I've got a lot to say on it. Hate the "it is what it is" statement, but that's probably the nicest way I can put it. We'll get to Scott Harris's comments in just a moment. If you haven't heard them yet, just look on the internet. They're everywhere. Basically, he doesn't care about winning. Okay, I might have ruined it. But here are the following roster moves. Kerry Carpenter goes on the 10-day DL with a 10-day injured list retroactive to May 27th with some lumbar spine inflammation, tight back, which is a bummer because he's been hitting so well and is in a hot streak. So that means the Tigers are recalling Akil Baddoo from AAA. Akil Baddoo, everybody's favorite Rule 5 player. Did you know he was a Rule 5 player? Feels like that's all they ever say. Okay, that's great. I think a lot of people want to see Justin Henry Malloy, see what he's got. But let's finish the other side of the roster moves. The Tigers, that's right, calling up Keider Montero, the Keider, and he will make his Major League debut in just a few minutes. In fact, he's probably taking his warm-up tosses right now. Interesting note here, it's not Matt Manning that's starting today. It's Keider Montero to start the second game of the doubleheader. So lots to unpack from the roster moves. Let me know what you think in the comments. If you're watching live on YouTube on Locked On Sports Detroit, make sure you subscribe to the channel, like the video, tell a friend about it. But let's break these down. We'll start with Let me try that again. There's a lot of words going on. Keider Montero. Right. Not Kenta Maeda. That's what popped into my head, if I'm being honest. Keider Montero rode into Comerica Park today on one of those Lime scooters that I'm scared to ride on. I mean, you got to love it, right? Maybe that's a sign of good things to come. Seems like a OG cool dude. But he gets to start today. No Matt Manning. I don't know if that's something to pay a lot of attention to, maybe a message being sent to Matt Manning, but let's see what Keider has got in game number 2. It'll be a fun pitching matchup because, again, it's Paul Skeens on the other side, the top prospect from Louisiana State University, the Tigers. Oh, go Tigers, go Tigers. And obviously very well-decorated collegiate career at LSU and a very highly touted young arm in all of baseball. And I know he has a famous girlfriend, the gymnast from LSU. Forgive me, I'm blanking on her name. I know Bally Sports tried really hard to do the whole Gen Z power couple thing. That's not my cup of tea. I'm going to stick to what I know, what I'm good at. Gabby, I think her name is Gabby. I don't know. She's a gymnast from LSU. Paul Skeens, the youngsters. They love Paul Skeens. So it'll be fun to watch that matchup here in just a few minutes. But other roster moves, again, I kind of mentioned it. Major bummer that Kerry Carpenter has to hit. Let's hope it's just the 10-day IL, just some back inflammation, and he'll be fine back into it. But he was hitting so well, especially obviously hitting right-handers so well. So it's not the only time he gets to play. But point being, that's a major loss. And this sounds negative, and I know, I'm sure Akil Baddoo is watching right now and not getting ready for the game, but I've seen his distaste for people that cover the Tigers if you say a bad thing about Akil Baddoo. So I better be careful, better be guarded. I don't want to hurt his feelings, but I just think we know, like, we've seen the Akil Baddoo tape. Maybe he'll provide a spark. Maybe he'll help this team, but I would have loved to see Justin Henry Malloy. So the next time I'm in the Tigers clubhouse, I might get the silent treatment like I've seen him give to other reporters where it's, I don't know. I don't know everything that went into that, but Akil Baddoo is the newest member as a position player to replace Kerry Carpenter there. Okay, other parts to get into. Keider Montero starting today, but let's get into Scott Harris's comments because he went on MLB Network, which is the second time he's done this MLB Network thing. Talk to a local reporter. Talk to the Detroit Free Press. Talk to the Detroit News. Go on Bally Sports. No, MLB Network. And again, continue to just make the statements that this team is not ready to win. And it's just so disheartening because he talks about the ups and downs of the youth and how when he came to Detroit, Chris Ilitch and the ownership said he'd have every resource, but they still don't want to spend. And now is not the time to spend. We're just going to develop. And not that nobody's going to go against developing your own talent and your prospects. But Chris Ilitch declared the rebuild done years ago. And it is just such a small market, low budget, money ball, whatever you want to call it, approach when nobody that's on this stream right now can forget the days of Mike Ilitch owning the team and the glory years, the formative years for me, when we went out and tried to win World Series, and the Tigers had a top 10 payroll in baseball. And they have one of the richest owners. I mean, that's public knowledge. Chris Ilitch is among the top 5 richest owners in all of baseball, north of $3 billion net worth. And there's no money to spend on players. Now, I know the other side of the coin, or the opinion that would go on the contrary would be, what are you going to spend it on? I don't know. Look what happened with Javi. But because you miss on a player like Javi Baez doesn't mean you never spend again. And I'm running out of time. Game 2 is about to start. Maybe we'll talk a little bit more about it. But it was just so disheartening to hear this approach of small ball and small market, disinterested from the front office. And then it's like they're gaslighting us. They're saying Javi Baez is a great player defensively. Well, is he actually? No, the statistics would point otherwise. He's not that great in runs saved or anything of that matter. This team hasn't spent, and Mark Canha, obviously he's been a nice addition, but he's not a savior. And that's no disrespect to Mark Canha, but he can't be your big offseason acquisition that's supposed to propel this team over the top. And the Royals are a great example. The Royals were lower than dirt for several years. They actually developed some players. They went out and spent big on Bobby Witt Jr., and I know they developed him internally, but there's no proof from this front office that they want to sustain a level of success that matches those formative years of World Series appearances in 2012, all the AL Central titles from that era where you were spending money. 9 of the 10 last World Series have been in the upper echelon of Major League Baseball's payroll. The Tigers are not. They are way, way below average. And all of those factors, again, make it very, very disheartening to be a Tigers fan. But we're going to focus on the good because we're wrapping up. We got a second game to go. Tigers have won 4 in a row. Can they go for the sweep over the Pirates and make it 5 wins in a row? They won the first game of the doubleheader, 8-0 behind Tarik Skubal, 7 shutout innings. You'll love to see it. Back to the 500 mark, and we will have a Locked On Tigers postcast immediately following the conclusion of game number 2. Real quick, a couple of comments. Adam Cullum getting in here. The offense waking up. Nice to see. I'm interested to see how much time Akil Baddoo gets. Yeah, we'll see. We'll see. Really hope Montero pitches well. Saw him pitch for the Whitecaps. That's right, West Michigan Whitecaps. He was solid. My prediction is that they won't score runs tonight. Paul Skeens is tough to hit, but I would love to be shocked. That's right. It'll be a fun pitching matchup. A couple of young guns going at it. So we will talk about it at the conclusion of this game. So thanks so much for tuning in to this first edition of Locked On Tigers postcast for the day, and we'll see you after the next one. Tigers get the win 8-0, going for the sweep with the Pirates, back to 500 at 27-27. See you in a couple hours. And as always, appreciate you tuning in. Talk to you soon.